very much. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you seated back there, you're deprived of what I can see from sitting over there, which is this entire front row moving rhythmically, only they're all moving to different rhythms. So it's like, I haven't seen so much random twitching since I took my grandmother to physical therapy. It's really quite entertaining. Anyway, our next guest is a well-known figure here on campus and internationally. Mr. Adi Alsaid is an ISF alumni. He'll be reading from his recently released new novel, Let's Get Lost, and he may even talk a little bit about his upcoming novel, which is coming out next year. Please welcome Mr. Alsaid.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Did we say 5 or 10 minutes?
5 to 10.
5 to 10. Okay. If I'm going long,
We're
just
on
like...
time. We're okay.
Okay. I'm going to be reading an excerpt from Let's Get Lost, which was released this summer. To set the scene, Layla is this mysterious girl who shows up in all these different teens' lives across the U.S. and Canada. And Hudson is this boy in Mississippi who, sort of on a rant, he starts talking about how he sees all these treasures in his hometown of Vicksburg, and Layla says, "Okay, show me." So she is on this tour of Vicksburg, Mississippi. For the gigglers in the crowd, I will warn you, so you can start to prepare. The word penis appears in this excerpt, so just like mentally prepare for that. The place was loud with the usual sounds, balls rolling down the lanes, crashing into pins. A little boy tried to prevent a gutter ball by shrieking at it, and groups cheered a strike. The interior was painted the same baby blue as the outside. A wall of fame was on display by the shoe counter. The tiny snack bar practically dripped with pizza grease. "This turns into a salsa club on Tuesday nights," Hudson said. "The lanes make for a great dance floor." Layla smiled and gave him a light shove, letting him know that she wasn't falling for it. But she looked around the room as if searching for clues that it might... Actually, I've never actually read that excerpt before. Decided I'm going to start a little early. You guys should be kind of honored. I'm a little nervous, and I just got back from a book tour. And this is like, it's incredible, actually, that I know. That wasn't like a humble brag. That sounds like a humble brag. It wasn't. I'm actually more nervous than I was in a room full of people. Okay, we're going to start over. After he was done fixing Layla's car, Hudson went to the back of the shop to change out of his work clothes while Layla settled the bill with his dad. When he came out, he saw her sitting in the front passenger seat of her idling car. "I'm driving?" he asked as he opened the driver's side door. "You're the tour guide," she said, making a sweeping gesture with her arm as if to indicate that the world beyond the windshield was vast and unexplored. "Guide me." She smiled at him, and he thought to himself that she was exceptionally good at smiling. He shifted the car into drive and pulled out onto the street, wondering where to take her, how to get her to smile more often. The obvious treasure was the Oxbow, but it was too far away. Everything that was nearby held fond memories. The Coca-Cola museum he'd gone to on every birthday until he was 12. The ice cream shop that invited its customers to suggest new, strange flavors and had once taken up Hudson's request for bacon chocolate. But the only way to transplant memories onto places and make them feel like treasures to her was to talk. He usually didn't have trouble talking to girls, even beautiful ones, but while he didn't quite feel tongue-tied around her, he didn't know how to begin. "It's very red in here," he said at last. "I know. It's pretty much why I bought it. It was love at first sight. So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume red is your favorite color?" "I like red, don't get me wrong, but I have a deep appreciation for anything that is willing to be totally and utterly itself. If you're going to be red, well then be red, goddammit. From your steering wheel to your hubcaps, be red." Hudson could only nod to himself. He'd never met anyone who talked this way, the way he thought. The brakes chirped loudly as he slowed for a stop sign, and he assured Layla that they worked fine. They just liked to sing. He turned left on Maryland so that the sun wouldn't blind him while he thought of something to show Layla. "What about you?" he asked after completing the turn. "What are you?" "Me?" she said, feigning innocence. She kicked off her flip-flops and put her feet up on the dashboard. To go... Wow, I just skipped like 8 lines. Hudson imagined what it would be like to be her boyfriend, which was the first time he'd ever had such a thought without immediately dismissing it. To go on long drives with her as she sang along shyly to music, to lie on the grass somewhere and confess things to each other, find ways to cuddle around movie theater cup holders. I am a treasure tourist, and my tour guide has yet to show me a single treasure. Where are we going? Hudson took her toward downtown. They passed a couple of motel chains off the highway, a spattering of restaurant and fast food places, everything flat in that shade of beige that felt duller than gray. Nothing felt like enough of a treasure to show Layla. Afraid that she'd grow bored, though, Hudson turned the car into the parking lot of the bowling alley as soon as he saw it. Now we're going to do an ellipses and skip ahead. So I feel like if I don't get to the penis scene, you guys will be disappointed. It's not an actual penis, administration that might be here. Okay. This turns into a salsa club on Tuesday nights, Hudson said. The lanes make for a great dance floor. Layla smiled and gave him a light shove, letting him know that she wasn't falling for it. But she looked around the room as if searching for clues that it might be true. As she swiveled her head, Hudson caught a glimpse of a scar poking out from her hairline behind her ear, just the tiniest sliver of damaged flesh. Then she turned back to him, combing a tress of hair over her ear and hiding the scar. "There's no way that's true. Please don't argue with your tour guide," Hudson said, leading him to the shoe counter. Unlike other bowling alleys that invested in cubbyholes, Riverside Lanes had a much different storage system for their shoes. "This is ridiculous," Layla said, staring at the massive pile of shoes, more than a few of which had fallen off the counter. A group of junior high girls came by, chatting excitedly about weekend plans, each of them tossing a pair of shoes haphazardly onto the pile. It shifted, and Hudson saw Layla brace for the pile of footwear to come tumbling at them. "No, this is awesome," Hudson corrected. "Whenever the pile falls, an employee yells out, 'Avalanche,' and then everyone in the house gets a free game." "Wouldn't people just knock it over then?" Hudson shook his head, as if no one had ever considered that before. "Where's the fun in that?" He crossed his arms over his chest, admiring the sight of all those separated pairs of shoes, the laces sticking out everywhere, like arms seeking salvation from a pile of rubble. How am I doing on time? A couple more. Okay, we'll get to the penis, guys. Don't worry.
Let's get to what they've all been.
Okay. I might have to skip ahead. Okay, he takes her into the bathroom, the men's bathroom that... Okay. You can really see some lovely things here. There was a pause before Hudson realized what he just said. He turned to Layla, who raised an eyebrow at him. That didn't come out right. I meant that some people really show parts of themselves that usually... He tensed the fist closed, stopping himself. Nope, that didn't clear anything up. What I meant was, Hudson said, but he was interrupted by Layla, bursting into laughter. Hudson smiled nervously. "There's a chalkboard in there," he started to explain, but he was too enraptured by the sound of her laughter to keep going. It emptied his thoughts, that laugh. "Don't worry, I assume it wasn't what it sounded like," she said, catching her breath. Hudson shook his head at himself and turned to the bathroom and pushed the door open. "Tour group coming through," he announced. When no one responded, he held the door open for Layla and made a sweeping motion of welcome. "After you, ma'am." I think there's a typo there. I missed a space. This is the strangest tour. It's really hard to shut off that editorial voice, which is tough to do when it's in, this is the shape it's going to be in for the rest of its life. I can't fix things. "This is the strangest tour I've ever been on," Layla said, entering the bathroom and giving an inquisitive look with just a hint of a smile to it. "Keep your arms and legs inside the ride at all times," he said. 2 urinals, a stall, and a sink was all there was to the bathroom. An automated hand dryer that barely whirred hung from one wall. Layla looked up at the chalkboard over the urinals. Hudson followed her gaze, trying to guess which bit of scrawled handwriting she was reading. Someone had doodled an impressive dragon. "Joan slept with a beaver" was scrawled in block letters across. Did you guys get the beaver? No? I didn't read that part out loud. Good, it'll keep you the mystery. It'll make you guys buy the book. And below that, in tiny script, as if the author had meant it as a whisper, "You have been restlessly on my mind." Lyrics to a Johnny Cash song, a Bible verse, a drawing of a penis were scattered across the wall. And I think I'm just going to go off on that note. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, the next book is in the works. It'll be out next summer.